Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. And today is the 16th of August. It's about, almost 10 to 8 in the morning. Almost, not quite. And it's 80 degrees, and we're going to be at 94. That's going to be warm. Okay, so not a lot has changed with Iran and America and Israel. It's the same. Okay, the Iranian thing hasn't moved. The Ukraine-Russia thing, it's the same junk. Ukraine attacks Russia. Oh, big deal. Oh, Russia attacks Ukraine. Oh, big deal. And back and forth and back. It's the same thing for years, right? It's a tie. And they taught us all these years to be afraid of Russia. And look what Ukraine did. And you know, Russia has access to Ukraine because they have a common border. Imagine if Russia was trying to fight 1,000 miles away, how bad they would do. So either there was a tremendous intel failure on the part of NATO and America. It's not just America, it's all of them, or they're lying. I opt for the latter. I don't think they had an intel failure. I think they were just lying to us to keep us thinking we need them. The idea is you need them, you need them, you need them. Today I'm going to talk about the daughter of Babylon and, of course, the next great Exodus. And there's so many people that say they're believers that just dread this. They think that the Lord's going to make it worse. He's not. He's going to make it better for you in a lot of different ways. But no, they don't want any change. You're under the dominion of Satan's servants in every country. Every single country in the world right now is run by an expire. Every single one. And the world's a mess, and it gets worse every year, right? Of course. And most of you, or many of you, live in places where you're afraid to go out at night, and then others live in places where you're afraid to go out at night or the day, and you carry a gun. And most of you, but not all of you, don't really understand what will happen to you in these countries if somebody comes at you with a chainsaw, a 50 caliber machine gun mounted on the chainsaw, and an artillery piece on their head. I'm being facetious. And you shoot the guy and kill him. What you're going to go through. I don't care what this guy did. Okay? This guy could have a history of 87 prior murders and he beat every case. Okay? He could have raped 197 women and beat the case. Whatever the guy did, that's inadmissible. That's another case. It has no bearing on this. Just because he killed 189 people doesn't mean he was going to kill you. See, that's not admissible, okay? The fact that he had a deadly weapon, if you had a camera, like a badge camera, and the guy was approaching you and he was saying, and you had sound, and he was saying, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to gut you, I'm going to pull your heart out and eat it or whatever, right? And you had that on video, and then you shot and killed him while he was trying to kill you, they would probably find a way to remove to take the video out and say it's not admissible It was violating the murderer's right to privacy. Okay? You think I'm kidding? I am not kidding. Okay? I'm not kidding. Alright? Now, are there some jurisdictions where this won't happen? Yeah. No. There's no compulsion for the Attorney General, or the District Attorney, I should say, to charge you. There's no compulsion. It's a policy. Um, the District Attorney can do a simple investigation, which is talk to the police and just never do charges. Doesn't even have to talk. Doesn't even have to talk to you. And then if you shot the guy and he lived, he'll probably file a lawsuit against you, even if he goes to jail. Or let's say more, especially let's say you shooting him in the heart and you killed him, right? Or you got him in a brain shot, and the guy's dead. So now there's no trial, there's no conviction. He's never been proven guilty. You know, you killed him, okay? So now his family's gonna get some hack lawyer to go after you for an unlawful death and sue you for $12 million. And you'll have to defend. That's how you live. You don't know that's what's going to happen when you use your precious gun. Now, I know a story that happened some years ago in San Francisco. There was this guy that used to take his probably $1,000 bicycle out at night and ride it when it was cool around the city streets of San Francisco. And he was riding, I believe, in the Pacific Heights neighborhood, which is the most expensive, or next to the most expensive. You know, it's in the top 3 or 4. It's very expensive. And he's riding around there, and there was a bunch of gangbangers out in the street. What were they doing over there? Well, they were looking to take somebody off or rob somebody or something, right? So they saw this kid on the bicycle, a young man, not a kid. And they told him they wanted the bicycle. You know, he stopped for a red light or something, and he drew his 9mm Beretta out as they were encircling him, and shot a few of them and bicycled away. Okay? Did they find him? No. Did he turn himself in? No. Is it possible he was a cop? Yes. Unlikely, but possible. A cop would mostly know he'll get off, but a cop probably wouldn't have done that. A cop probably would have took his gun and his badge out and said, "Turn around or I'll shoot you. Get down on your knees, put your hands behind your head, that kind of thing." And he would have told him, "If any of you son of a guns move your hands, I'm going to blow your head off." And then he would have got on his phone and called for backup, and he probably wouldn't have had to kill him. Okay? Or he could have just showed him the badge and gun and said, "Just, listen, I'm not in the mood for this. Just get out of here. I'm going to leave you alone," and not arrest him. And they'd probably say, "Okay," something like that. All right. That a district attorney's getting on the radio and making announcements and saying, "To the person who shot these people, we would just like to talk to you. Could you please contact us? We just want to talk." Yeah, sure. So you got lying prosecutors, I know a guy in San Francisco, this happened many years ago. He was getting assaulted down by the cannery, by the water, if any of you know where that is. He was really getting assaulted, and he had a gun, and he shot them. And the district attorney, it was a clean shoot. Apparently the guy had a weapon, a gun or a knife or something. But he put the guy in jail for 1 day short of a year for having a concealed weapon. See how they are? So you could go carry your guns in jurisdictions that let you carry a gun. Find out what happens to you when you use the gun. And some very left-wing district attorney who has a value system across the board completely contradictory to yours goes after you. See, they go and take jobs in these positions specifically to get people that are like you, that believe the Bible. They want to go after people like you. They see people like you as a threat to themselves because of the lifestyle they live. Okay? All right. So we're gonna. I'm gonna try to break you off of this, and you know, it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. All things work together for good to those who love the Lord. America is not a godly country. You've got to understand that. It's a terrible place to live. It was a terrible place 50 years ago. You know, when it was a good place to live was never. I mean, in the 50s, it was good for some people to live. Okay? The guy that worked as a clerk in the store could buy a house. You know, houses like in 1952, you know, they were $2,500 in some places. $2,500 for 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage, backyard, front yard, you know. Yeah. You know, this is when things were good, you know. People in rural areas rented apartments for $25 a month, $20 a month. In New York, you were able to rent apartments for $50 back then. That's in New York City, not in Manhattan, but in the boroughs. You know, so you know things were reasonable. They hadn't ruined things, but the black people didn't have it good. They were really heavily discriminated against. And then when the people came from Puerto Rico, they were heavily discriminated against. And the Jews were heavily discriminated against. To this day, never stopped. So it was just not a good place. You know, it never really was. It was never a godly country. Okay. Do you know what they do with the Federal Reserve Bank in America? Let me break it down to you. Private people own it. Yes, they will. You cannot find out what their names are. They own the place, okay? The government says we need money, make another $2 billion. So do the Federal Reserve owners take money and put it in the Federal Reserve Bank, their own money, and loan it to the bank? No. They just take a computer and blah, 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 and make $2 billion out of thin air. Really, it's not their money. It's just manufactured out of nowhere, and then the federal government prints the bills for it, the paper, for free for them. They don't charge them. Okay, and then they rent that money to the United States government, and the United States government pays interest on it. And if the United States government ever pays the principal back, which I don't think they will, I don't know where that money goes back to the people that own the Federal Reserve Bank, even when it wasn't their money to start with. You know how sick and corrupt that is? That's America. Do you know all these people that go rah, 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 patriotism, Oh, F-22s and F-13s and aircraft carriers will wipe everyone out. Yeah, they probably will. But, they're so rah, 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 but they're supporting a corrupt, rotten, stinking, lying government. They're doing you a disservice when they wave that 50 pentagram flag. The government has 50 pentagrams. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Is that not idolatry? You're pledging allegiance to an inanimate object? Yeah. I pledge allegiance to this thermos. Isn't that sick? I pledge allegiance to a flag. It's the same thing. It's idolatry. And what's on the flag? 50 pentagrams. These patriots, they don't know any better. They don't know any better. Okay? Or they're S-bots. Then they know any better. They know better, and they're just selling you out. But, I'm a very unpopular guy because I point this out. People live in debt. Going back, I don't know, 40 years, 50 years, people was sitting around not counting how much money they had in the bank. They were counting how much credit they had on their credit cards. I had these banks years and years ago. I had a bunch of credit cards. The banks were closing my credit cards because I weren't using them. I didn't want to buy things on credit. So they were looking at me and they were looking at a guy like me and saying, well, this guy is saving he's keeping his credit cards in case something bad happens and he needs them. That's not the kind of guy we want. What they want is somebody that's using all their credit cards all the time. They started the IRS when they started the Federal Reserve Bank in 1913. Same time. The IRS is the collection arm for these private people that own the Federal Reserve Bank that make trillions of dollars, or at least billions, and for doing nothing. In a day, some of these people will spend more money than you'll make in your life. It's such an unfair system. Discrimination against non-Satan bots. They break their own discrimination laws by discriminating against Satan bots. By discriminating in favor of them, I should have said. It's just a really rotten place. Look at Trump. He gets up there and lies about Iran all the time. And people don't mind. Oh, he's lying. We don't care. Do you ever hear any of these patriot guys say Trump's a stinking liar? How come we have a president that lies and nobody cares? Because they don't care. So it's going to be gone real soon. There's not going to be an America. God is sick about it. The angels are going to be celebrating when it goes down. It's the root of evil. It's going, okay? And there's so many people that are in denial. Israel's the daughter of Babylon. How? It says when they leave the daughter of Babylon, they're going to Israel. How could it? So what do they do? Leave Israel and go to Israel? How does that work? People are ridiculous. People are ridiculous. They have no clue what's going on. They live their life, they get a job, they go to work, they try to do a good job, they steal and cheat and rob a little bit here and there, most of them, you know. They try to take care of their family, and they get old, and they get older, and they get older, and then they die. And that's it. Nobody pays attention to them anymore. They're gone. The Satan bots, the elite, try to change that by, making themselves um, idols of themselves. Like they have a building in New York called the Chrysler Building after the Chrysler family. Chrysler family went bust. They had to sell the building. The Chrysler family once corrupted the Congress so bad that they passed a special bill to reduce the taxes for the Chrysler Corporation. They lost their office building, I don't know, in the 50s or 60s or something, I don't know. I used to know a guy, Casually, whose family owned it, and he wasn't the Chrysler. So you got a lot of stupidity going on. So, but when you leave as a believer, you'll be in Israel. Israel's going to be much nicer. So it rained in Jerusalem yesterday. That's rare for a rain this time of year. Really rare. And I told you the temperature that this month's usually hotter than what we're getting. So I'm very surprised that the weather is it's still hot, but it's cooler than what we normally get. I'm just wondering where to take that, if anywhere. So, I start talking about Daughter of Babylon, the offerings go down, and, people are, you can't, they don't want to hear, it's not a bad thing. They don't get it, okay? They don't get that the people that are evil and wicked in this world gotta go. That God gotta get rid of them, or we're never gonna have a good world, okay? And that is, they don't get it, they don't get it. Okay. So we're going to cover Jeremiah 51 today from the ancient text, translated to raw English without any church bias whatsoever on it. And on a second. What is this? They're trying to sell me a discount on something called a Ninja Shark. I don't know. We have a Ninja food, what do you call it, an air fryer. I don't know. All right, let's take a look at the live stream and make sure we're doing good. Looks good. Let's take a closer look. We do have some interesting news with Qatar and Iran. Iran is probably going to do some really serious attacks on Qatar. And personally, I could care less what happens to Qatar. Okay, let me see if we got anybody in the chat. Thank you, moderators. If anybody here is asking for prayer or questions, thank you for all the greetings. I appreciate it. Let's see, we got a post here. America was very religious, not much anymore. The evil on the screens. They used to be quite religious, yes, but they were still running it with Satan bots. But Satan bots go to their churches, don't think they don't. America is not the root of all evil. Well, America is getting destroyed because of what it does with God. The other ones you're talking about are, I'm not naming, those are Satan's chosen people. That's how I phrase it. That's not in the Bible. I say that. They're Satan's chosen people. They have his attributes, you know. He's a liar and a killer, a murderer, you know. Okay, I'm gonna put up a post in the chat, which is gonna take seconds, not long. Okay, let me post this. Check the typos. We're good. Let me get it up there. Pin it. Make sure we're good. We're good. Okay. Being a Bible believing site, I'm going to do some praise. How about that? There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 I'm going to do a prayer for us. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I pray for a good live stream today without any problems or technical problems or any difficulties. I pray that I can do a good job teaching the scriptures and dealing with the news and how it fits in with prophecy and how you're fulfilling prophecy. And I pray we have a good time and enjoy ourselves and learn, and you give us a good anointing on the live stream. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Okay, now we have a couple of prayer requests, nothing very elaborate, but they are important. I just have one prayer request. Okay, it's a little unusual, but the prayer request goes like this. It's for PM, Papa Mike. PM, Papa Mike. That Papa Mike would be paying rent on time on a continuing basis. So Papa Mike PM would be paying rent on time. on a continuing basis. Okay. An update on mommy. She's acting rather good today. Um, she ate some steak this morning. My wife's cooking her chicken and steak, so she'll eat any, to get her to eat. So she ate some yesterday. She's eating today already, and she went out some hours ago. I think during the night, my wife took her out, and there was a hedgehog outside, and she got the hedgehog cornered and wouldn't give ground. My wife almost had to drag her back. They, the dogs don't like hedgehogs in their yard, and they generally just hold them at bay and bark at them. And the hedgehogs are armored; they're just in a round ball. They just roll up. They're cute little things, nice little pink feet, that stick out. But I don't think you can play with them. So they didn't hurt. She didn't hurt. And but we don't know. We got the animal doctor, the vet's running tests, and we think it's not kidney, we think it's not liver, we think an adrenal gland, which is easy to maintain with medicines for a happy, full life for the dog. But I don't know, it's dragging on the diagnosis, so we got to put some pressure on that. We got to get it speeded up and see what it is, But by elimination, it's not the kidney and not the liver. So I was thinking maybe because she was eating those olives falling off the tree, it got her this way. But my wife says she hasn't been eating olives in a long time, but maybe it brought the condition on. I don't know. Because she could have the pits in there or something in her stomach and doesn't want to eat. I don't know. It started out she was drinking a lot of water, and that sounds like adrenal gland. So olives are not toxic to the dog. I don't think she has access to any other fruits that she would eat. So I don't know what's up. We don't know what it is. So the only thing I know is to pray. We're in a world where everything is medical diagnosis. We got to give it a name. And, that's man's name. And, I appreciate it if you guys would keep praying for mommy dog to get healthy and stay healthy. And, eat and drink. That's the big thing we're worried about. Is that she eats and drinks. So the doctor gave us some anti-nausea stuff for her and appetite stimulants and stuff like that. So she keeps her health up. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get her back. And I don't like this business where the vet's just taking a long time trying to figure it out. I'm not happy. So we gotta push against that. And maybe I'm gonna suggest maybe if we think it's down to the adrenal gland, try the adrenal medicine. We'll have to talk to the vet just to let's get the show on the road. I don't want the dog to die while we're waiting for a diagnosis. The vet's doing a lot of surgeries and busy, and we got to get this thing fixed up. Or the Lord fixing it up better than just let it go that way. So I don't know. It's been a real strain on us because we love her. She's such a great dog. I mean, she's really a super good dog, and she's not old. So we're really worried. She was walking up the steps to get into the house yesterday or the day before, and she stumbled. I never saw her stumble. She usually goes up the steps like a rocket ship. So today she seems good. So we just gotta stay on it, and please keep praying, for her. That's the real answer. Okay, so Qatar, what happened with those morons? Qatar is a bunch of dirty, rotten people. Okay, they're horrible, horrible people. Okay, uh, they're dictators that run the place, and the only, they're just rotten people. Okay, and workers go there, and the employer holds the worker's passport, and they don't let them leave, and they charge them money, and they rip their wages off. And, it's just sick people. So the story goes like this. Iran, at the very beginning of this fighting, had some old aircraft, and they sent some airplanes to Qatar, apparently to bomb the American base or something. And apparently these pilots got shot down, and the number is either three. Most of the time I hear 3 pilots, but I also heard about 4 pilots, but let's use 3. So there's 3 pilots that were downed, and Iran is saying they have intel that Qatar is holding them. And they want Qatar to give them back to Iran. So here's the scenario. Well, we put some people, some pilots in planes to come over there and bomb your country, and you shot them down. Well, that now you have to send them back to us. You can't keep them. Well, Qatar is saying we don't have them. But they did get shot down over Qatar. So what are the possibilities? One, big possibility Qatar's lying. 2, slim chance they got shot down and were killed, because then Qatar would come out and say we shot them down and they got killed. Right? They're not doing that. So what's the other possibility? That they were shot down over Qatar and somebody else has them. Well, who's the somebody else? Brazil, China? Nah, it would be America. But I think America would say they have them. What does Trump care? Yeah, I got your pilots, so what? What are you going to do about it? That's the position. Now, why would they keep the pilots? For a swap, in case an American plane went down over Iran and they actually got the pilot before they could get him out. Then they would try to do a prisoner swap with Iran, but it wouldn't work. No, Iran would say, well, our pilots are, martyrs now, and they'll just get their 70 virgins in heaven if you kill them, so do what you want with them, They won't do it. Maybe I'm wrong, and they would want them back. I don't know. Maybe they're getting some aircraft from China and they want them back. I don't know. Iran is pretty dead bent that Qatar has them, so what I think Iran's going to do is start attacking Qatar, but not so much attacking the American base in Qatar, attacking Qatar infrastructure probably, or Qatar military base. And Qatar's not going to like that. Like I say, I don't care what happens to Qatar. Uh, and Qatar was negotiating with Iran, you know. Uh, so we had a little bit going into Israel with our defense minister. Uh, what's his name? Katz, I think. He was ordering for the West Bank to transfer, you know, the police type work from the military to the actual police. But they came up and they say it's not feasible. The police said the police could handle civilian issues while the military would focus on Palestinian terrorists. A distinction officials say is misguided. And it's going to look like de facto annexation of the West Bank if the police start taking over the duties instead of the military. Now, de facto means it's a fact, that's how it is. De jure is a word that means it's the legal system, it's legally the method, it's legally correct. De facto does not mean it's legally correct at all. It means that's just the way it is. Okay. It may go nowhere. You know. The George Washington aircraft carrier was pulled out of the Pacific Theater around China, Taiwan, Japan, all that in that area, general area. And that was the last aircraft carrier in that area. Okay, hang on a second. So it's not the last aircraft carrier that America has. It's the last one they had based in the Pacific. So Trump pulled it away. It's currently sailing in the Mediterranean Sea on the way to Iran to replace the Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier. It's really outside the Persian Gulf, so that's what they're doing. Um, they're not upping the game to a 3 aircraft carrier move here. They're sending 1 aircraft carrier here to let the other one go home. That's all that's going on here. It had a long deployment, this Abraham Lincoln, and I think there's some morale problems, and they want to go home. And they're probably going to go home. You got to understand, it gets pretty boring sitting on a boat in the water for months. You know, most of the cruises are a week. That's just standard cruise. They have 3-day and 4-day cruises. I've tried those. They're too short. They're not good. As soon as you get used to being on the boat, you're off the boat. You know, a week is pretty okay. I think for me personally, 10 days is about right because it takes you 3 days to get used to the cruise in the boat. The boats are so big. And this is how the Lord's going to arrange transportation for you, as far as I know, with the ships of Tarshish from North, South, Central America, and the Caribbean. Is you're going to be on these luxury boats, these cruise ships. So they're rather large and, 900 to perhaps 1,100 feet long. And they go up 16, 18 decks. And they're, how wide are they? Maybe they're at the very, at the deck where the pool is, they might be 70 feet or 60 feet or something like that. They're pretty wide. They're not that wide. They're not 200 feet or anything, I don't think, But even, so you got about 3 days. The first 2 days, you're getting lost on the boat. You don't know where you are. You got to look at the maps, and you haven't seen all the facility. You're still trying to check everything out, right? Um, and that's a distraction that they like because it keeps the people busy and happy. So they like it. Happy people are good customers that come back. They like happy people. They really do. Okay. Whatever makes you happy on the boat that doesn't bother other people, they're all for it. Okay? You want to sleep in till 12 o'clock noon, they're all for it. Okay? You want to stay out till 2, 3 in the morning with their discos, they're all for it. You want to get up at 5 or 6 o'clock and get up on the deck and do some exercise and then go to the gym. Hey, they're all for it. Whatever you want to do, as long as you're not hurting or bothering other people, they don't care. You want to eat 6 times a day and put on 20 pounds in a week? Hey, they'll help you. They don't care. You want to get drunk? Yeah, as long as you're not hurting or bothering or insulting other people, get drunk. They don't care. You know, uh, what are they? You're not driving, so what are you gonna? I suppose if you got too drunk, they'd help you get back to your cabin, and they would tuck you in, and you'd just sleep it off. I've never seen that happen to anybody, but I guess maybe it does. So anyway. Um, Yeah, that's luxury transportation. You know, so you get um, you get the hang of the boat, and then you're on for a week. So, the third, the fourth, fifth day, seventh day you're off the boat. So you have a few days where you know your way around the boat. On a 10-day cruise, you got about a week, your way around the boat. So that's about it. And then at the end of 10 days, you're about ready to go home. 2-week cruise, you're really ready to go home at the end. It's a little bit much. Now, an aircraft carrier is not as big as a cruise ship. I'm telling you, it's not. Okay? The big difference is there's a deck, but they don't have all these floors up above the deck, and people don't have places to sleep in the boat where they have windows and balconies and stuff like that. They're inside the boat all the time, okay, in cramped quarters, and they don't have a swimming pool. Now, being on the outside deck of the boat is a dangerous place to be because there's all sorts of stuff going on. There's fuel lines, there's planes with motors on, they're taxiing planes on the deck, planes are taking off, landing, always stuff going on. It's not something where you're going to want to just hang out. Now, when the captain has a party like on the 4th of July, they call it Steel Beach. And they get the planes parked and there's no plane activity. And they barbecue out there and everybody hangs around and talks. And they let people swim in the water. They have lifeguards that watch over them. They give them a little boat. They can, if anybody gets in trouble swimming, they get right over there. And that other than that, when they have a party, which is pretty rare, other than that, the deck is pretty much off limits unless you work there. You can't just go up to the deck and hang out. They don't. You'll get in trouble. There's places inside the boat where you could go and hang out, plenty. But when you're inside the boat, you don't see the sun. You don't see the. You don't even know if it's day or night. Okay. So they get stir crazy. I would say after 6 months on the boat, man. And then I think these guys are 8, 9 months on the boat. They must be going out of their mind. I mean, I think at 2 weeks on these luxury boats, once I did a 2 week. I was ready to get off. I mean, I had enough, and I had a big suite and everything. It just was enough. I sailed around the bottom of South America from one side to the other, and went from Argentina to Chile, and it was plenty. And that was a cold weather cruise, and I don't like those. I wouldn't. I would never want to take a leisure cruise in cold water again. Cold. It makes no sense to me. You know. And these people like to run these cruises in Alaska. You know, in the summer, and well, right now in Alaska, I think it's starting to get cold. And when the boat stops, they get plagued with mosquitoes. Alaska's a lousy cruise, okay? You know, if you really want to see Alaska, fly up there and get a tour in Alaska. Forget the boat, and they take you on the trains, and you go around and see things that might be interesting, but what the cruise ships do in Alaska is not really so great. Anyway, yeah, so I can see these guys after so many months are stir crazy and want to get off the boat. Also, the submarines. I don't know how they stay on the submarines a long time either. Um, when the submarine goes up on the surface, very, very few crew ever get outside. But walking around on the body of the submarine on the deck is reserved for precious few people. It's dangerous. And I believe they have a line that hooks on it to the boat in case the wind blows them or some motorboat tips and they go in the water. They have a line they could, pull themselves back. But they got the tower there that the officers go in. It's, well, I don't know, maybe it's like, 8 by 4 or, it's a small area. It could hold a few people. And they stay up there. And they got a wall that comes up to about here. So they don't have to worry about getting washed out with a big wave. They just duck down and they'll get wet. But they're not going to get, if they duck down below the wall, they're not going to get thrown out. They're going to get drenched. That's it. Which is, you can pick yourself up and go downstairs and change your uniform, take a shower, change your uniform, get a hot shower, a hot cup of coffee. It's a lot different to getting washed overboard. Okay. So anyway, I could sympathize with these guys. All right. Now, I think if you're on the older boats, not the more modern destroyers, there's very few people ever out on the deck. In the old days, the battleships and the cruisers, people were outside a lot, but not so much anymore. Okay, now this is a hard one I'm trying to understand. A recent poll in Israel, considered to be the best polling company, says that Netanyahu and his Likud party are looking at getting 33 votes out of 120. Now that's doing pretty good. I think at times Netanyahu would be able to get around 36, and sometimes he'd be in the 20s, but 33 is a healthy number for him, I'm sorry to say. And that means he's got a good chance of cursing us again with another term of prime minister. I hope not, but it might be the case. It's a little early to tell. You don't know. So much could happen. Netanyahu went to Trump and asked Trump for an endorsement, and Trump said that Netanyahu's an enemy of his. I think he was a little playful, though. I'm rather sure Netanyahu will endorse, Trump will endorse Netanyahu. And he'll ask for concessions from Netanyahu, which is bad for us. The U.S. is experiencing a serious beef/cattle shortage because of drought. Now, I post about the droughts on the Telegram, and it's serious. It's been going on for years, and it's not getting better. It's increasing slowly. Drought affects the grass, it affects the beef, and they don't got what to eat. So the cattle supply of cattle is now at a 75-year low. You hearing me? Drought is one of the signs of destruction of the daughter of Babylon, yes. So it's near a 75-year low, it says, actually. Years of drought has made the grazing expensive and forced ranchers to reduce their herds. Fewer calves are being born. It's only down 2%, so I mean, it's not that serious. Mexican cattle reports were restricted, imports rather. The importation of Mexican beef is restricted because of the screw worm outbreak, which is further trimming the herds. So that's pestilence along with drought. Those are signs. To rebuild the cattle herd is going to take years. It's not something you do in a year or two. So that's a real reason why your beef prices are high. And not letting the Mexican meat in is a good idea because they are real sloppy about stuff like that, and I think it would be a very bad idea to assume that the Mexicans would actually bear down on the screw worm. They're so stuck on their corruption and their drugs and stuff like that, and the cartels, that, you know, they're not going to waste time in their minds, waste time and money worrying about the screwworm. They're very bad. The government is the cartel, and the cartel is the government. And it's been like that for decades. They find a guy without a criminal record that's clean in their elite list of contact Satan bots, and he's the face of the cartel, as you know, running the government. Okay, an IDF officer and two regular enlisted soldiers were seriously wounded when a Hezbollah drone attacked their position in southern Lebanon. That's supposedly, they say, is a violation of the Lebanese ceasefire agreement. That's nonsense, those agreements. So Trump refers to Netanyahu as his enemy, saying that he was asked to endorse Netanyahu. I'm pretty sure he'll do it. And I think that he was perhaps being playful. I don't think he was that serious. Israel forces bombed Hamas positions in Gaza. I'm shocked to hear that, but it's good. But I have a feeling it's deceptive. Were the bombs being dropped to kill them, or something else, like destroy tunnels, or I don't know. Oh, it was a response to a roadside bombing that targeted a IDF tank. Okay. Yeah, so that's why I was shocked. It was surprise, surprise, but it was just So Israel is hitting the IRGC. That's the Iranian soldiers that are in Lebanon. Israel's attacking them. At the same time, Saudi's attacking the IRGC that's in Yemen. So not that we're working in unison with Saudi, believe me. We did attack a good-sized Hezbollah tunnel network. Well, I don't know if we attacked it or we're studying it, but we got it, and I imagine if we haven't blown it up in the next day or so, we will. Um, okay, so I'm pretty much interested in seeing what Iran does to Qatar over these three pilots. Very interested in seeing that. Trump will do nothing about it. He's just going to maintain his blockade, and Iran's maintaining their blockade. So Iran's ships can't get in and out, and the other countries' ships can't get in and out. So it's a funny blockade. It's it's a two-way blockade. It's a weird thing, you know. And Trump is overstating how well he's done. He's destroyed a lot with Iran, but they still have a lot left to fight with, as evidenced by their keeping ships out of the Persian Gulf too. So it's a two-way street. They're both keeping the other one's ships out. So it's pretty interesting blockade. I never really saw anything like this before. No, the vets here in Israel are not as sophisticated as you're used to in other countries. They're generally vets. There's some that would specialize in maybe reptiles, some birds, stuff like that. Some with cows, but they're basically just vets. Um, it's not as sophisticated as you might think. You know, if it was America, they probably would have run us into poverty with testing and figured out what was wrong with it. But you know, there was blood tests and there was urine tests, and we're going to keep getting to the bottom of it. But there's a tentative diagnosis, some disease of the adrenal because of the drinking of water, and it's not delivering the kidney, so that leads them to the adrenals. If it's that, what we're told is there's a medicine that's not going to break the bank that you give the dog, and the dog lives a normal life with the medicine. So you're apparently replacing what's not there. So we ordered some glandular adrenal, which is desiccated adrenal gland from animals, and we're going to give that to him whenever it gets here. I ordered it yesterday. We couldn't find it in Israel. It's hard living in Israel. You think I mean, I don't know how hard you might think it is. If it's harder, I mean, it's really hard, you know, super hard. Okay. You know, you think, oh, I'm in America, you know, people discriminating against Jews. I'll go to Israel, they won't discriminate against Jews. Oh, they will. They'll discriminate against you because you're an Anglo, you weren't born here. They do corruption, they call it protexia, and they give favorable treatment over other people. It's just pathetic. You know, they really don't know their left hand from their right hand. They really don't. Instead of having a fair government, they have an unfair government. And there's no jury trials in Israel. Imagine a democracy without jury trials. How could it be a democracy? How? I don't know how. You know, if you have a fight with your landlord because the landlords are insanely mean, and you go to court and you have a jury trial, how's the landlord going to win? You know, how's the government going to win? You know, it's all the countries. You know, this is what needs to come to an end. That's why the nations are all going to be destroyed. That he says he scattered Israel into, and then there's another scripture that says he scattered them into all the nations. But there might be some countries that they were never scattered into, and get rid of them because they're just evil and rotten. And people think that that's good because they grew up in it, you know, and they think, well, I got air conditioning, I got heat, I got cable TV, I got internet, I got a car, you know, I can buy food, I got medical insurance. It's a good life. Yeah, you have no idea what life would be like very soon. Much, much, much better. 100 times better, probably. But people don't want to give up. They don't have faith, you understand? They just don't have faith. That's why they want it to stay the same. And that's what Satan wants. And Satan doesn't want these wars. Why? Because he's in control of every country. What does he need the war for? What's going to enhance his control? Nothing. It's a risk for nothing with him with the wars. He doesn't want the wars. All right, I'm going to go. We're going to do Jeremiah 51. We did yesterday, we did 50. And let me get there. I'm on verse 11. 3, 2, 1. Okay. So I'm doing this from what's called Codex Leningrad, which is a Masoretic text, the Hebrew Old Testament, goes back to 900 AD. So that's more than a century, more than a millennium ago, okay? And we're also going to use the Codex Vaticanus, which was done in 300 AD, before there was a Catholic Church. Has nothing to do with the Catholic Church. They stole the name Vaticanus, you know, Vatican, you know, but it's nothing to do with the Catholic Church. So it's the leftover fragments of the Septuagint that they had in 300 AD. They pasted them together and rebuilt the original Septuagint from the year 250 BC. So we're getting two very old witnesses. The oldest Hebrew manuscript and that we can get, and the original Septuagint put together, which was a translation of the Old Testament from Hebrew into English in 250 BC. So we're in the ancient texts. Okay, so I'll pretty much start with the Hebrew one, Codex Leningrad. This is Jeremiah 51, verse 1. Thus says Jehovah, behold, I am stirring up against Babel. It says Babylon, but it always says Babel, which means confusion. Against Babel and against the inhabitants of Leb Kamal, which is the Chaldeans, which were the Chaldeans were a bunch of, you know, sorcerers, well, witches, you know, back in the original Babylon, which would be in what we call Iraq today. Against the inhabitants of Leb Kamal, a destructive wind And the Greek one says a deadly burning wind. A deadly burning wind. Well, the wind spreading the fires, I guess. And I will send to Babel uh, winnowers. The Greek is that I will send forth against Babel spoilers, and they shall winnow her. The Greek is, and they shall spoil her. I like the spoilers version better. They shall spoil her and empty her land, and shall ravage her land, for they shall be against her. For they shall be against her on every side in the day of disaster. It's a day of her affliction in the Greek. The day. In an hour, in a minute, in an hour, it's, I don't know, Revelation 18. It's very fast. It starts very fast. But it will take time to loot the place. And they come in on every side, so that's surrounding it. Let the archer bear his bow, and let him lift himself up in the coat, in his coat of mail. Do not spare her young men. Devote her entire host to destruction. The Greek is, let the archer bend his bow, and him that has armor put it on, and spare you not and spare you not her young men, but destroy you all her host. All her host is her army. That's America. Verse 4. That was verse 3. Verse 4. Slain ones shall fall in the land. The Greek, and slain men shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans. The land of the Chaldeans in the Hebrew too. And pierced ones in her streets. Pierced ones would, I guess it could mean bullet holes, but probably intended to mean swords, knives, stuff like that. Pierced spears, arrows. A bullet could be pierced too, you could say that. Okay. Verse 5. For Israel and Judah have not been widowed from their God. Israel and Judah have not been forsaken of their God, is the Greek. I like the widowed. Widowed means that God's not dead, okay? They teach God's dead. Satan teaches that Yeshua and Father God Jehovah were one entity, and when they killed Yeshua, they killed God. So that's where that comes from. it says so. Not been widowed from their God, Jehovah of armies, though their land was full of guilt against the Holy One of Israel. Well, you see, he's sympathetic to Israel, even though they're against the Holy One of Israel, which could be Jehovah, it could be Yeshua, likely Yeshua, I would think, right? I'm going to take a quick break for a second, real quick, and I'll be back quickly. I want to keep the phone. Hanging out here, catching the air conditioning. Okay. Want to come in and get in the cold air conditioning here, you can, Mommy. It's up to you. She's sitting outside the door because I got the air conditioning on here. She's catching the cold air. Okay. Flee from the midst of Babel. The Greek, flee out of the midst of Babel. That's the middle. Okay? And let each man save his life. Do not be silenced in her punishment. The Greek is, and deliver everyone his soul, and be not overthrown in her lawlessness, for it is the time of her retribution from the Lord. He is rendering to her a recompense. Very fitting to be in the year of recompenses, isn't it? The Hebrew is punishment, for it is the time of Jehovah's vengeance. He is paying her full recompense. You know, a lot of people like me believe the North American Indians are lost tribes. And do you remember the Indian wars America did to these poor Indians? Babylon was a golden cup in the hand of Jehovah. Babel. That was America, or is America, making all the earth drunk. The nations drank of her wine. Therefore, the nations went mad. They're crazy. They are really crazy. Think about it. Verse 8. Suddenly Babel has fallen suddenly. And the Greek says, and Babel was fallen suddenly. And been broken. And the Greek is broken to pieces. Howl over her, that's mourn, really. It says in the Greek, lament for her. Take balm for her pain. Perhaps she may be healed. And the Greek says, take balm for her deadly wound, if by any means she may be healed. We tried to heal Babel, but she was not healed. Abandon her and let us go each to his own country. Maybe Trump was they tried to heal America with Trump, and they got more of the same garbage and even worse. Let us go each to his own country, for her judgment reaches to the heavens, lifted up to the skies. Her judgment reaches to the heavens, lifted up to the skies. It's going to be quite a judgment. Jehovah has brought forth our vindication. The Greek, the Lord has brought forth his judgment. Come and let us recount in Zion the work of Jehovah Elohim. The Greek, come and let us declare in Zion the work of the Lord our God. So if they're going to declare it in Zion, it means they're leaving America and going to Israel. If Israel was the daughter of Babylon, what are they going to do? Leave Israel and come back to Israel to tell Israel what happened in Israel? It's stupid to think it's Israel. You understand that? Okay. Verse 11. Polish the arrows, fill the shields. Prepare the arrows, fill the quivers. Yeah, that's better. Fill the quivers, that's the Greek. The Lord has stirred up the spirit of the kings of the Medes. Stirred up the spirit of the Medes. You could just look up the Median Empire, you'll get that. Because his device is against Babylon to destroy it, for it is the time of vengeance of Jehovah, the vengeance of his temple. So either they were getting it for the temples in the past, or for this current temple that's not yet here yet, but soon will be. Now I could get us, let's see if I could get us a list of the Median Empire countries by their names today. Let me see, I'll get this, okay. List of countries in the old Bible days Median Empire, but I would like the modern names of the countries that were in the old biblical Median Empire. Very interesting. Look who I come up with the first one. Iran, the heartland of Medea. Well, Iraq. Ooh, this is getting very interesting. Turkey. Ooh, are things coming together for you yet? Azerbaijan. Ooh. Armenia. Ooh. Georgia. Russia. Georgia's Russia. So, you want me to dot the I's and cross the T's? Maybe this is telling us that Iran or Elam is going to whack America first and then they're going to get it. But I'm a little confused, but maybe I shouldn't be. Because the second Exodus starts when America gets it. But he stirs up the spirits of the Medes. And who are the Medes? Well, they were Iran, Iraq, which is considered possibly part of Elam, and Turkey, Azerbaijan, and Armenia, and Georgia. So Georgia is part of Russia. Without Russia, I don't think it'll do anything. But maybe it'll join them. I don't know. Let me ask you a question. Regarding the modern names of the countries in the Median Empire in the old days of the Bible, where do we stand with Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Oman? Those countries are not in the Bible, so wouldn't we lump them in with Iran and Iraq as well? I meant IRAN and IRAQ. So what were these Gulf state countries called in the old biblical days of the Median Empire? They had to be called something. not saying those Gulf state countries were not part of the Median Empire. They did have other names, and they were part of like Saudi Arabia and other countries. So maybe they're not in it. Maybe they do get destroyed, but okay. All right, let's continue. So maybe Iran and Iraq do come and attack America with some other countries, okay? Turkey included. Remember, Turkey and Pakistan and Saudi Arabia are in a pact now. And they may figure, well, we're not going to get rid of America until we get rid of. No, we're not going to get rid of Israel until we get rid of America. Let's get rid of America first. It's not hard to understand. Verse 12. And, you know, Iran is gunning for America, so, you know, they can all get together. Lift up a signal against the walls of Babel. The walls would be over 2,000 miles of Mexico is America walls. They don't have walls with Canada. That doesn't happen, okay? So it's the Mexico is it. Strengthen the watch, set up the watchmen, prepare the ambush. You see, they've already set the watches up. They've got so many soldiers on the wall between Mexico and America, and they're continuing to keep building the wall. Strengthen the watch, set up the watchmen, prepare the ambush. For Jehovah has both planned and done what he spoke concerning the inhabitants of Babel. He did this. Jeremiah 50 verse 24, America, the daughter of Babylon's in a snare, and it ain't getting out. You who dwell by the many waters, rich in treasures, your end has come, the measure of your cutoff. Okay, the Greek is dwelling on many waters. Well, you've got the Atlantic, you got the Pacific, you got the Gulf of whatever you want to call it, Mexico, America. You've got 8,000 rivers, and you've got many more lakes. You probably have 20, 30,000 lakes, including the Great Lakes, which are like little oceans. Okay? And then you go around and you look at, they say, oh, the daughter of Babylon, that's Mecca, that's Medina. They're in a desert. They're not the Median Empire, and they're in a desert. A desert. There's nothing there. There's no water there. What about the Vatican? That's another one. Yeah, but they're not sitting on many waters. They got a few hundred bottles of holy water, and they got water fountains and toilets. That's about it. A few hundred people live in the Vatican. 200-300 people. There's no Jews living in the Vatican. How they come into Zion? There's not one Jew living in the Vatican. And you think there's Jews living in Saudi Arabia and Mecca and Medina? Stop listening to these liars play with you with their stupid theories. Jehovah of hosts has sworn by himself, surely I will fill you with men as with locusts, and they shall raise a shout over you. Remember when they were telling us there's tens of millions of sleeper agents inside the United States? When did they ever tell you there's tens of millions of sleeper agents that left? Like locusts in the millions. The Greek, for the Lord has sworn by his arm, saying, I will fill thee with men as with locusts, and they that come down shall cry against thee. Raise shout over you is the Hebrew, pretty similar. Verse 15, he who made the earth by his power, who established the world by his wisdom, and stretched out the heavens by his understanding. When he utters his voice, there is a roar of waters in the heavens. Let's read the Greek. At his voice he makes a sound of water in the heaven. I told you that the heavens water, not a vacuum. It's water. After the firmament, it's full of water. And I don't know how you're going to travel through the water unless perhaps you had a huge spaceship, that was maybe, 3 miles long, like, Star Trek or something. And it had some sort of amazing power, and it went up, and then it broke the firmament, went into the firmament, and then traveled through the water, transitioning like a submarine. The problem is, if anybody got through the firmament and broke it, all the water would be coming down into earth and causing a flood. So let's forget about people going into the firmament with their space travel. So it says in verse 16, when he utters his voice, there's a roar of waters in the heavens, and he causes vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. If the earth was a round spinning ball, how could it have ends? He makes lightning for the rain and brings out wind from his storehouses. See, we don't understand things like putting wind in a storehouse. We don't know anything about that. But don't get into pride and saying because you don't understand it, it can't be true. You just don't understand it. I don't understand it. Verse 17, every man is foolish without knowledge. Every metal caster is put to shame. That's the ones making statues. Is put to shame by his idol. See, his own idols that he made shame him. For his molten image is falsehood, and there is no breath in them. (18) They are vanity, a work of delusion. at the time of their punishment. They shall perish. The statutes and stuff, the graven images. Not like these is the portion of Jacob, for he is the fashioner of everything, and Israel is the tribe of his inheritance. Israel is the tribe of his inheritance. We inherit the land. We'll eventually inherit New Jerusalem, and we'll eventually inherit life in heaven. And you, as a non-Israelite believer, are in Israel. And all Israel shall be saved. Israel is the tribe of his inheritance. Jehovah of hosts is his name. You are my war. Now listen to this, because a lot of people don't like me because I'm not sitting here singing "Give Peace a Chance." Okay, you got to listen to these verses. You are my war club, weapons of battle. With you I break nations in pieces, and with you I destroy kingdoms. That's with Israel. But it hasn't started yet, but it will after redemption. We're going to be the head of the whole earth under Jehovah. With you I break in pieces horse and rider. With you I break in pieces chariot, and my stupid iPad moved. At least I could laugh about this idiot thing. Okay. And where am I now? Maybe I'm right where I need to be. Hold on. No, let me try to get this right. Okay, just gotta find my verse. Let's see. It's probably right around here. You are my war club, weapons of battle. With you I break nations in pieces, and with you I destroy kingdoms. With you I break in pieces horse and rider. With you I break in pieces chariot and driver. With you I break in pieces man and woman. With you I break in pieces old man and youth. With you I break in pieces young men and maidens. With you I break in pieces shepherd and flock. With you I break in pieces farmer and team. With you I break in pieces governors and commanders. Okay, that's a lot of war that we're going to be going into. And just because the church people teach junk and they don't teach this, you're going to throw this out the window? It's in your Bible. Why do you want to throw it out the window? Because some man tells you something different? It's not going to be so peaceful. Verse 24, and I will repay Babel and all the inhabitants of Chaldea for all the evil they did in Zion before your eyes, declares Jehovah, before your eyes. October 7th, in September 2023, all of a sudden Biden never wanted Netanyahu to come there. All of a sudden he says, yeah, come. He's always welcome. Boom. 23rd of September, Netanyahu goes and sees Biden. People are telling Netanyahu there's going to be this attack. They're warning him about the Gaza attack. And what happens October 7th? The attack comes. And does Israel respond quickly to it? No. Is there a slaughter and a massacre? Yes. Do the people in Israel get mad and want to knock out the Iranian proxies and Iran and everything else? Yes. You see, the Chaldeans were fortune tellers, soothsayers, astrologers, right? Witches. What goes on in America? Well, in a lot of places in America, you have gypsy fortune tellers, legally. Okay? Reading tea leaves and all kinds of madness, right? And then you have Disney. You think Disney doesn't use witchcraft in their putting it on their movies and cartoons and stuff, and TV shows and all? Of course they do. You think the music industry doesn't use it? You know, it's all over the place. All over the place. Verse 25 of Jeremiah 51. Behold, I am against you, O destroying mountain. It's referring to the United States as a mountain. Destroying mountain. Yeah, it is, declares Jehovah, which destroys the whole earth. I will stretch out my hand over you, roll you down from the crags or from the rocks. Roll you down from the rocks and make you a burnt mountain. A burnt mountain is finished. I will kindle fires in and about your cities. Is that not a burnt mountain? What about all the wildfires in the forests in the Northwest and in California or near LA and all that? Is that not leading to a burnt mountain? Verse 26. They shall not take from you a stone for a corner, or a stone for a foundations, or a stone for foundations. For you shall be a desolation forever, declares Jehovah, speaking to the daughter of Babylon, America. Lift up a signal, a sign in the land, blow a horn among the heathen nations, the Goyim. Consecrate the nations against her. Summon against her the kingdoms of Arat, Mini, and Ashkenaz. Appoint a commander a commander, wait. Appoint a commander against her. Bring up horses like swarming locusts. The Greek is bring up against her horses like a multitude of locusts. That's a massive thing. Now, why are they using horses? Maybe Trump messed up the world's gas supply. I don't know. Maybe the Iranians attack all the gas in the Persian Gulf by blowing up the wells and the refineries. They threatened that. And Iran blows up the infrastructure in America, including their oil. Then all they got to do is take out Venezuela, and that's the end of the oil. If you get America, Venezuela, and the Persian Gulf oil, you're probably at about 75–80% of the world's oil is gone. The earthquakes and withers for Jehovah's plans against Babel stand to make the land of Babel a desolation without inhabitant. Now, he used the most powerful country, Egypt, against the Jews to make his point. He is Jehovah, and this is Israel, and he is for Israel, and he's still for Israel. And the most powerful nation in the world is America, and he's using it to make his point. America wanted to play games with Jehovah and hurt Israel, do evil in our sight. There you go. And that evil in the sight may not yet be done. May have more to come. The warriors of Babel have ceased fighting. They sit in their strongholds. Their strength is exhausted. They have become like women. Her dwellings are burned. Her bars are broken. They're fighting all these big. The sleeper agents, don't think they just evaporated. They could have many millions of them there. Millions. The locusts coming like locusts. Locust comes in the millions. Runner runs to meet runner. I guess they don't have good electrical digital comms if they're using runners. To meet runner, and messenger to meet messenger. To report to the king of Babel. Currently that would be Trump. It might revert to some other guy, but right now it's Trump. That his city, that's the Washington, the District of Columbia, the graven image whore, the Statue of Liberty, that his city is captured from end to end. Oh. The passes are seized. The marshes are burned with fire. And the men of war are terrified. This is not specific to Washington, D.C. For thus says Jehovah of hosts of armies, the God of Israel. He says he's the God of Israel, and Trump is kicking against Israel. Look at what he does to us. He wanted to take Gaza for himself after we fought, after we got set up, after we lost a lot of people in October 7th. You know, hey, these guys are sick. They did on October 7th. And like I say, Netanyahu's a curse. He won't let an independent investigation enter into Israel to figure out what happened. October 7th, he won't let that happen. the people running against him for prime minister are saying one of the things they're going to do is start an investigation for him. So he's really fighting for his freedom and his life, I think, with this election. For thus says Jehovah of hosts, the God of Israel, the daughter of Babel is like a threshing floor. At the time it is trodden down, yet a little while, and the time of harvest comes to her. The harvest is Matthew 13, the tares and the wheat. Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babel, has devoured me, crushed me. He has made me an empty vessel. He took all the artifacts out of the temple. He burned the temple. The soldiers took the gold off the walls and melted and all this stuff, melted the gold to get it. Crushed me. He has made me an empty vessel, swallowed me up like a monster. He filled his belly with my delicacies. He spewed me out. He spit me out. The violence done to me and my flesh be upon Babel. His flesh is Israel. You getting the idea here? This is about Israel. Trump is not for Israel. Don't deceive yourselves. The violence done to me and to my flesh be upon Babel, says the inhabitant of Zion. That's Israel. And my blood be upon the inhabitants of Chaldea, says Jerusalem. So they're going to do some really bad things to us. Or maybe they already did. Therefore, thus says Jehovah, behold, I am pleading your cause and executing vengeance for you. I will dry up her sea and make her fountain dry. Dry up her sea, make her fountain dry is a drought. We just covered that with the cattle. Babylon shall become a heap of ruins, a dwelling place for jackals, a horror and a hissing without inhabitant. They shall roar together like young lions. They shall growl like lions' cubs. When they are inflamed, the Greek is in their heat. I will prepare their feast and make them drunk, so that they may rejoice and sleep an everlasting sleep, and not awake, declares Jehovah. Let's read it in the Greek. In their heat I will give them a drink, and make them drunk, that they may be stupefied, and sleep an everlasting sleep. I'm not awake, says the Lord. When it says inflamed, or it could mean they're sexually engaging. Okay. The other side of that is, in the old days, when somebody was getting drunk, they would say he got a heat on, because you sweat and you get warm. The blood rushes to your extremities from your organs, so people will walk around in cold weather without heavy clothes when they drink. I will bring them down like lambs to the slaughter. See, they behave like beasts, these Satan bots, so they get treated like beasts. Like rams with male goats. The Greek says, and rams with kids. How Sheshach is captured. That's one of the demons from the old Babylon. And the praise of the whole earth seized. Is the praise of the whole earth Israel? Huh? People come to Israel, are they referred to as a dreamer? No, it's America. The praise of the whole earth, it's America. How Babel has become an object of horror among the nations. The sea has come up over Babel. She is covered with its roaring waves. Now, I will kindle fires in and about your cities. I will make you a burnt mountain. See all the forest fires burning and all that. So all the fires, okay? Now, the waves wash over to put the fires out. Otherwise, the animals, the jackals and all, wouldn't be able to live there. How could they live there if it's on fire? Now, people are going to say, oh, it's a 3,000-foot tsunami. Maybe, but Jehovah could just tell the waves to not stop there. And they'll just be, 5-10 foot high and just wash through. Go, 1,000 miles, 2,000 miles in. The sea has come up over Babel. She is covered with its roaring waves. Now, maybe it does have rough waves. I don't know. Like a tsunami. I said like a tsunami, not a tsunami. Her cities have become a desolation, a dry land, and a desert. So apparently the waves wash over, put the fires out, and then they recede. a land in which no man dwells, and through which the Son of Man passes. I will punish Bel and Babylon, that's one of the demon idols they had, and bring out of his mouth what he swallowed. The ones that the demons were controlling. This is likely the Israelites. They're getting set free from that demonic influence. Nations shall stream to him no more. Even the wall of Babel was fallen. And that's probably the Mexicans pushing into America, and they're going to be pretty lousy to deal with. Go out of her midst, my people. Of your people you leave. And let each man save his life from the fierce anger of Jehovah. Don't you think the churches should be teaching this to their people? But they're not. As a guess, 98% of them don't teach this, maybe 99. Let not your heart faint, and do not fear. The rumor heard in the land, for a rumor comes in 1 year, and after a rumor in another year. Violence in the land, comma, ruler against ruler. Ruler against ruler. And that could be the Supreme Court reversing what the Congress does, stuff like that. One state opposing the other, the mayor of New York City opposing Trump, that could be that kind of thing. Okay, violence in the land, you have that already, but it's going to get worse, a lot worse. Therefore, behold, days are coming when I will visit punishment upon the carved images of Babel. Her whole land shall be put to shame, and all her slain shall fall in her midst. Then heaven and earth and all that is in them, that's all that's in heaven, all that's in earth, shall shout for joy over Babel. For out of the north, okay, so they're going to be very happy that America's gone. Can only imagine what Trump's going to be doing to get to that point, right? For out of the north, destroyers shall come to her, declares Jehovah. Well, you see, this could be China, North Korea, Russia come into Alaska and drop down through Canada. I don't believe it's Canada attacking America. I could be wrong, but I'm not thinking that, okay? But the foreign troops in Canada, that I'm thinking. As Babel caused the slain of Israel to fall. You hear this? They caused us to fall. They didn't do it. That could be October 7th, and it could also be other things. You know, in 1948, the United States put an arms embargo on Israel. Yeah. Do you think maybe they wanted the Arabs to kill us? God didn't want that, so it didn't happen. So at Babel the slaying of all the earth shall fall. And the Greek is, and the slaying of all the earth shall fall in Babylon. You who escaped the sword, go, do not stand still. Remember Jehovah from afar, and let Jerusalem come to your mind. Oh, this might be a delivery. I'm sorry. Yes. Hello, who's this? Oh, okay. Are you at my house now? Yes, Angli. Do you have English? A little? No? Ken. Are you, איפה אתה עכשיו? בדרך השקט? מה? בחוץ, אוקיי. אני בו בדרך השקט בחוץ עכשיו. בסדר? Okay, I go now. Okay, bye. I gotta go out there, guys, and get, this is herbs for us, I think. The supplements. I gotta go out there. I'll be back as quick as I can. Hopefully this guy comes quick. I think he will. I think he knows us. I don't know. I'll do what I can. I'll be back as quick as I can. All right, that was quick. He was a good driver. He knew how to get here. Sorry about that. That's life in Israel. The houses don't have numbers and all this. Okay. Uh,
Use GPS coordinates or nearby landmarks instead. What location are you trying to find?
I think WAS or something got turned on. Okay. As Babylon caused the slain of Israel to fall, they didn't do it, they caused it. That's what they've been doing to us since 48. But they never attacked us. So at Babylon, with what was that jerk's name? Nixon. We had a war. It broke out, and Nixon was supposed to give us by treaty all sorts of weapons and equipment and bullets and ammo and all this stuff. And he said, "I'm sorry, I can't give it to you for 5 days. But we're at the war now. You're supposed to give it to us now." He says, "No, I have to wait 5 days." He's giving respect to the Arabs. So he's giving them 5 days to kill us. They don't kill us in 5 days. He gives us this stuff. Arms embargo 1948, Nixon, Netanyahu and Biden. I mean, come on, Trump was saying we're going to take the Iranian sanction money and we're going to distribute it to the Gulf states to cover their war reparations, right? For the damage done. Did he include Israel in that? No. He doesn't care about Israel. So at Babylon, the slain of the earth shall fall. It's going to be a big massacre. The slain of all the earth shall fall. You who escape the sword, go, do not stand still. Remember Jehovah from afar. What does that mean? Israel. That's what it means. And let Yerushalayim come into your mind. So where are you supposed to go? London, Tokyo, Beijing, or Jerusalem? Israel, Jerusalem. That's your resting place. That's your home if you're in Israel. And all the believers that are not of Israelite flesh origin are in Israel. So you go to your resting place. 61, verse 61. We are put to shame, for we heard reproach, disgrace covers our faces, for strangers have come into the holy place of the house of Jehovah. Well, that could be in the past. That could be the next temple. But it says strangers, so those would not be Israelites. So maybe Trump's troops, remember he has bases in Israel now. Trump's troops do this or something. I don't know what it is. The Greek, I'll read the Greek. We are ashamed because we heard our reproach. Disgrace covered our face, for strangers are come into our sanctuary, into the house of the Lord. That would be before redemption. Okay? So that would mean the temple is here before redemption. If this is referencing the next temple, it may not be. See? It's hard. It's real hard. 52, verse 52. Therefore, behold, days are coming, declares Jehovah, when I will visit punishment upon her carved images, and through all her land the wounded shall groan. And that's in America. Though Babel should mount up to the heavens, and though she should fortify her strong height, from the destroyers shall come, from the destroyers shall come to her, declares Jehovah. Let's read the end of this again. Should make her strength strong. With her being from me shall come those that destroy her. The Greek is clearer, says the Lord. Yeah. He is doing it. Jehovah is arranging it. And he's paying them back with looting America. Of course, the wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous, and we get it back when they try to attack us. We get it. You know, we get it. Maybe not get it back, we get it. A sound of a cry from Babel, and great destruction from the land of the Chaldeans. For Jehovah is laying Babel waste and stilling her great voice. Who has the great voice but America? Their waves, the hammer of the whole earth, America. Their waves roar like many waters. The noise of their voice is uttered. For the destroyer has come upon her, upon Babel. Her warriors are captured. Their bows are broken in pieces, for Jehovah is a God of recompense. He will surely repay. Now, some of you people say, well, this isn't America. It doesn't say America. It doesn't say the United States of America. So let me ask you a question. If instead of saying Babel, which means confusion, and of course America is rather confused, if the Lord said the United States of America, and every place that says Babel it says United States of America, you think Satan's so stupid he would have America called the United States of America? He would call it something else, like Neptune land, or Flintstone land or something. He wouldn't call it. You understand that? All right. Verse 57. I will make her princes and her wise men drunk, her governors, her commanders, and her warriors. They shall sleep an everlasting sleep, and not awake, declares the King, whose name is Jehovah of hosts. Why isn't there going to be a big battle? Because they're going to be asleep. And there's going to be a massive amount of them. They'll be fighting. I mean, I think some of the survivors are going to go out and kill some of the invaders. If I was one of them, I think I would be able to do it, but not if God doesn't want it, But you see, how many houses are there in America that have a lot of riches that these poor fighters are going to want? Clothing, jewelry, electronics, stuff they're going to want. I don't know, maybe they'll take other bigger things out of there. I don't know. Museums, the retail stores all over the United States. It's going to take a long time to loot all this stuff. Thus says Jehovah of hosts, the broad walls of Babel shall be utterly razed, and her high. The broad can mean the long walls too. It doesn't mean thick walls necessarily. It says in the Greek, it says, "Thus says the Lord, the wall of broad Babylon shall be utterly broken." That's odd. "And her high gates shall be burnt with fire, and the people shall not labor in vain, nor the nations fall in their rule." Well, let's read that in the Hebrew. I think it'll be clearer. "Thus says Jehovah of hosts, the broad walls of Babel shall be utterly razed, and her high gates shall be burned with fire. The peoples labor for nothing. They labor for nothing," and that makes more sense. "And the nations, the nations weary themselves for the fire." The word, the nations could also mean the heathen, the goyim. All right. The word that Jeremiah the prophet commanded Sarah, son of Messiah, not Mashiach, Messiah, when he went with Zedekiah, king of Judah, to Babel in the 4th year of his reign. Sarah was quartermaster. Jeremiah wrote in a book all the disaster that would come upon Babylon. All those words written. Now, the old Babylon couldn't be with all the water either, because it was in Iraq, where there's not a lot of water there, you know. All these words when concerning Babel. And Jeremiah said to Sariah, "When you come to Babel, see that you read all these words, and say, O Jehovah, you have spoken against the place to cut it off, so that there shall be no inhabitant in it, neither man nor beast, but it shall be a resolution forever." A desolation forever. When you finish reading this book, tie a stone to it and throw it into the midst of the Euphrates, and say, "Thus," no, wait, it's different in the Greek. Let's read the Greek too. "And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have finished reading this book, thou shalt bind the stone upon it and cast it into the midst of the Euphrates." That's similar, just more words, more detail. "And say, Thus shall Babel sink and shall not rise, because of the disaster that I am bringing upon her, and they shall be weary." Well, the people in America are definitely weary. "Thus far are the words of Jeremiah. Okay. So we'll do other verses about this, like Isaiah 47, and maybe Revelation 17 and 18 as well. We'll see. I've done Revelation 17 and 18, so I might just do Isaiah 47. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Let me take a quick look at the live stream, the chat, see if we're getting any prayer requests, questions, things like that. There it is. No, I don't think we have much going on. All right, I'm gonna close this out. Okay, so again, guys, please remember to pray for Mommy Dog for healing. We're still trying to focus on exactly what it is. She's much better yesterday and today, well, late yesterday and today, so we're very happy, but we need to get it fixed once and for all. Okay, so let me get a prayer for us. My Heavenly Father, Yehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I pray for me and my wife and all the true believers in their households, that we would have your peace, safety, protection, joy, and shalom peace, and strength, stamina, and endurance from you, and your healing and recuperative power flowing through us and our animals and pets, I suppose. And I pray that also for our animals and pets and ourselves to be safe, secure, and happy, healthy, and whole. And I pray for the peace of Yerushalayim, which is going to come in these days from the elimination of our enemies, according to the scriptures. And I pray that if any of us need a place to live or a job, or clients and customers, we find these things and they be good. And I pray we all have more money than we need. And I pray that the offerings come in better. And I pray that we all know the scriptures better. And I pray that I could do better videos and Bible teaching and live streams and so forth. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with that, even if it's a video, you can agree with that as a believer. It'd be good if you did. And now I'll do the spiritual warfare aspect, which is a little different. My Heavenly Father, Yehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I loose from any of the following people, me and my wife, all the true believers in their households and families. Any unclean spirit in any of these people, I loose out of them immediately, and they can never return unto them again. And if there's any evil witchcraft or sorcery directed at or targeting any of these people, it's cast null and void for all time, no value, no effect forever, can never return in the same way or even any way close for all time. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And I hope you enjoyed this, and I'm probably going to suffer with people, unsubscribing and not doing offerings because they don't like the context, but I have to do things to help those that do listen to the Lord. And if that's going to offend you, I'm not worried, as long as it's the real Bible, the true gospel. I don't mind it at all. You can do what you want, but I got to protect those that are His. I got to help them. So Now, some of you are not in America, obviously, you're in Canada. Canada is not America. Canada has not done the things to Israel that America has done. So you're not it, okay? Is there a chance you'll pull out of Dodge with Daughter of Babylon? Well, there certainly could be that chance. I mean, it would seem to me something like that could very well happen. Let's leave it at that. Same for the Caribbean nations. Okay, same for Mexico. I'm sure there's Israelites and believers in Mexico. You know, and the other countries. So, you know, the North, South, and Central America and the Caribbean states are the isles because they're not connected to the rest of things. So they are more than likely going to get a lot of the ships at Tarshish. Now, that's not to say that the other places are not going to get them either, because I think they will. Because it's really like coming from India, for instance, is a rough, long trip, you know. So we'll see what happens. I don't want to second guess what the Lord's going to do. But one of the followers of several years, quite a number of years actually, told me that she heard very clearly from the Lord a long time ago, maybe 6-8 months ago now, or quite a while ago, that the beginning of the destruction of the daughter of Babylon started. And I never heard this person. It's not like this person comes up with something every week or every month. I never heard this from this person ever in years, quite a few years. Never heard anything like this. So it's I expect it's real because I'm looking at the events and it looks real to me. So I would say it's happening. It's on. Okay, I know we're in recompenses, so this is a payback. It may be the day of vengeance, or you see, it sort of stands on its own. It doesn't. The destructions of the nations has to come after, because if it came before, there would be no nations to destroy the daughter of Babylon. If it came at the same time, the nations would be falling apart. They wouldn't be able to destroy the daughter of Babylon and loot and pillage. So it has to happen after. So this is probably going to happen pretty soon. It could precede Iran destruction. It could, and Edom as well. We have no idea how the current events are going to run. And the next temple could come down any time. And Elijah could start becoming unveiled. He's in Israel now, but veiled. He could become unveiled and start working. John the Baptist was in Israel for a long time, but he was living in the wilderness. He wasn't in the cities. They didn't know who he was until it came time for him to be unveiled. Okay? And Yeshua was living in, you know, he knew the scriptures. The Pharisees and Sadducees knew he was gifted with the scriptures, but they didn't pay other than that. They never paid much attention to him. And it started with the wedding, with the wine, the water to wine. Okay, well, you know, one of the things that I think Yeshua was careful with is, you know, the people came to eat when he would feed them with the loaves, you know, and, you know, he didn't want them chasing for the miracles, but he did do the miracles anyway. He did a lot of them because it brought the people to him and it got a lot of attention. But that was not the time to bring back the kingdom. This is. So it's going to be very different. It's not just going to be about spreading the true gospel. It's going to be about rebuilding Israel, making Israel the head of the nations, serving Jehovah again. You know, oh, it's just a completely different thing. Okay, so I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and I hope you got something out of this, and I'm out.